If you've been wanting to grow out your silver hair, but you're worried that it's going to be coarse and wiry, watch this video where I dispel yet another myth about silver hair. Hi, I'm Lynn, and I inspire women to go naturally silver. So one of the main reasons I hear that women are hesitant to take the plunge and ditch the dye is because they're worried that their silver hair is just going to be very dull and very wiry. And I can tell you that in my experience, that has been the furthest thing from the truth. There is a very common misconception that silver hair and gray hair, it's coarse, wiry, unmanageable, and that compared to your dyed hair, your silver hair and your gray hair would be completely uncontrollable if you let it grow out. And you know how good your hair feels when you leave the salon with a fresh hair color, or if you've just recently dyed it at home? It feels so soft, so silky, and you're worried that you would miss that feeling. It's important to understand what is actually happening to your hair when you're coloring it. And I want to preface this first by saying that by no means am I anti-hair dye. I colored my hair for decades. I highlighted it too. And I only encourage women to do what makes them feel beautiful. But when I was coloring my hair and highlighting my hair, I struggled a lot with split ends and breakage and frizziness. The only way that I could counteract that was to continue to dye my hair. So I was in this endless cycle. And it wasn't until I really understood what hair dye does to your hair that I really understood that my hair was actually damaged underneath all of that hair dye. The outer layer of your hair has a cuticle, and this cuticle is basically comprised of scales that overlap. In healthy hair, these scales lay flat, they're nice and smooth, and they give that hair that shiny appearance. So the process of dyeing your hair involves using chemicals on your hair to lift those cuticles up. And by lifting those cuticles up, that's how the hair dye molecules can penetrate into the hair shaft. So in order for the hair dye to get into the hair shaft, essentially your cuticles have to be roughed up. When those hair dye molecules get into the hair shaft, they fill in all of those gaps. They make your hair feel so smooth, so silky, and give your hair that shiny appearance. So it gives you this illusion of having healthy hair. But once that cuticle is lifting, it is damaged and it can't lay flat again. It's permanently damaged. And the only way to counteract that damage is to dye your hair again. This is why as your hair color fades and those dye molecules start leaving the hair shaft, your hair starts to feel like straw, it looks very dull, it takes on kind of a roughened appearance. And again, the solution is to dye your hair again. So you color your hair again, lift that cuticle, and the cycle continues. Now there are three main color processes that your hair can go through: permanent hair color, temporary or semi-permanent hair color, and of course bleach and lightening. In permanent hair color, that's where that cuticle is lifted and that's where those molecules are penetrating and getting into that hair shaft. In semi-permanent or temporary hair colors, the hair color just sits on top of the hair shaft, and so it is much less damaging than permanent hair color. They are designed to wash out over several shampoos. They deposit color on top of the hair shaft, and they are much less damaging to the hair because they don't open that cuticle. And then there's bleach, which uses a chemical reaction in order to lighten the hair. And this is probably the most damaging of all types of hair color processes. It's extremely damaging to the structural integrity of the hair. It could cause it to become much more fragile and more susceptible to breakage. With a skilled hairdresser, there are some products that can be applied during the bleaching process in order to help mitigate some of that damage. And a toner is usually applied over the bleached hair. If you've ever had toner applied to your hair, you know that this washes out pretty quickly. Once that toner washes out, you are left with that straw-like texture to your hair, and the cycle continues. I'm a salt and pepper, so you're gonna see lots of different colors here. But if you notice, the silver streaks in my hair are very similar in texture to the pepper parts of the hair, the brown parts of my hair. And if anything, it's the dyed ends of my hair that remain, because I'm not fully grown out yet, that are the most straw-like. Before I went silver, I had so much breakage from all the dye and the highlighting. I do still heat style my hair. I use a very good heat protectant on my hair. Silver hair can take on some yellow tones. I have another video on purple shampoo and how to counteract yellowing in hair. If you want to check that out, I can link it below. But basically, maintenance free. I have found that my silver hair has been the easiest color to maintain. I don't find it to be coarse at all. One thing you're going to notice when you first stop dyeing your hair, you're going to start getting all of these little baby hairs kind of popping up. And that's new hair growth because you're no longer putting chemicals on top of your head. So that's kind of exciting. They do tame, they do lie down after a little bit, so they're not going to be sticking up like that forever as they grow in. But that's kind of an exciting byproduct of ditching the dye. So if worrying about your hair being coarse and unmanageable is what's kept you from taking this step, I haven't found it to be an issue. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss any silver content.